Kara James was a sound sleeper. She always had been. Her alarm was like a siren. She found her perfect companion in the form of a calico cat that she named NyQuil. Or Quill for short. Like his name suggested, Quill was a deep sleeper too. The only time he didn't sleep soundly was if he was sick. Kara always left her bedroom door cracked just in case Quill needed to use his litter box at night. There was just enough room for him to get his paw through the door and pull it wider. After all, Kara wasn't going to wake up to the sounds of his meows. It was only an issue when Quill wasn't feeling good, since he would always stay fast asleep with Kara until her alarm went off in the morning. So when Kara awoke to find the door wide open one morning, she was immediately concerned. She monitored Quill's food and water intake, no changes. She checked its litter box for any signs of a sick stomach, none. She looked for any throw-up around her home, nothing. This left Kara in a pickle. She went to take Quill to the vet, but what would they say? He had absolutely no symptoms that she could see. After a week of the door being all the way open every night, she decided she needed to get proactive. She bought a small, cheap camera and put it on her dresser pointed at both the bed and door. The camera only produced a picture. It couldn't even pick up sound. It was quite old. Still, she was determined to figure out what was going on with Quill. She left it on all night long. Unfortunately, she couldn't look at it the next day. Have you ever had one of those days at work where everything seems to go wrong? Kara sure did. She just happened to have an extra large workload and then had to stay late because the guy who was supposed to pick up the night shift called in sick and she was the only one available to stay till late in the night. She got home a little later than midnight and didn't even bother changing out of her clothes. She set her alarm and was out within seconds. The next morning, the door was fully open again. She would watch the tape tonight after work. Thankfully, today was a much easier day than yesterday. Her boss even let her off early since she had covered 2 shifts without notice the day before. She got back to her house and grabbed the camera. She pushed rewind and made herself some food before going back to her bedroom. The camera had finished rewinding. She pushed play and watched a silent version of herself turning the camera on before getting into bed and turning off the lights. She fast-forwarded a bit, as nothing was happening until she saw the bedroom door move. She stopped and played the video. She was confused at first. Quill was on her bed, sound asleep like usual. But the door was clearly opening. Her confusion turned to horror as the tape continued. A large man in a dirty shirt with a scraggly beard slowly walked into the room. In his hand was a hammer. He stood at the foot of the bed, swinging the hammer as if waiting for something. He stayed there all night. Only about 30 minutes before the alarm would go off did he walk out of the room. She watched herself wake up, totally oblivious to what had just happened. Kara turned off the camera and calmly walked out of her house with the camera and her cell phone. Once she was out in public, she called the police and explained everything. Multiple police cars were at her house in a matter of minutes. She was told to sit in more of the police cars as policemen had flooded her house. She didn't see anything for a while until 2 officers came out of her door, escorting the man from the video, now decked in handcuffs. He made eye contact with her as he was pushed past the car and put into the one directly in front of hers. His eyes were so cold, like icebergs, piercing her soul. She knew she had looked into the eyes of evil. She was shown a makeshift room up in the attic. The man had been up there for a couple of weeks. She was taken to the station to give her statement. She didn't feel safe at home. She and Quill stayed with a friend that night. The next day, Kara was called into the police station again. She was informed that the man was named Marcus Ford. He was a known serial killer whose weapon of choice was a hammer. He had killed over 20 women. What the police didn't know is why he had not attempted to kill Kara. He wasn't talking, and the detectives on the case hoped that being questioned by Kara herself might make him open up. She didn't want to, but the question of why he had just stood there swinging the hammer had kept her up all night. She agreed. She was escorted in by a police officer. Marcus was handcuffed to a bolted-in table. A big smile formed on his face as he saw Kara walk in. His smile showed a mouth full of rotting teeth. "Hello, Kara," he rasped out. She didn't react and took a seat across from him. "I've come to ask you a question," she said timidly. He looked amused but nodded his head as if to say, "Go on." "Why? Why didn't you kill me like the others?" He was silent for a moment before starting. "When I kill someone, I like them to wake up before I swing the hammer. I like to see the fear in their eyes as they realize what is about to happen to them. It's never been a problem before. I don't try to be quiet, and they usually wake up the first night I'm there. You're the first person that made me camp out." He paused for a second before saying with a sick smile, "Aren't you glad you're such a sound sleeper?"